they had beef everywhere. And you sort of skip 30 years and you get 75 going out of Austin, but we're gonna skip over Austin.
Yes.
Go ahead, yeah, it's my pleasure. And then you get here, and once again, it's a humble food that helps a family thrive. And it's through largely Mama Ninfa and her family that we have fajitas high prices now, which is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's good for you, Mr. Morgan. But honestly, what a wonderful testament to what seems like such a basic food, but it carries so much history on its file. And that's what's important. And to know that this South Texas, Northern Mexican food can demand the right price and people not get upset over it is fantastic. Yeah.
Chef Patty, when it comes to fajitas, what was your kind of first experience with them, and how did you bring that experience into the Mama Nica's tradition, and maybe even made it your own?
You know, my family's on my side, and so here in Houston, we were just, you know, embraced with Tex-Mex culture. So the spices, the flavor, the cuts of meat, going to the carnicerias, was an event. And so as we were, you know, gearing up for, you know, family events at the house, we started to look at these cuts of meat. Fajitas, costillas, pollo asado, que ya estaba marinado. That's, you know, pollo estaba, you had marinated on one side and not marinated on the other side. And so we started with the marinated because we were, you know, loving the flavors that, you know, we were introduced to. And so we wanted to cook at home very, you know, the same way. And so as we, you know, developed our flavors and learned more and more, and we're obsessed with enchiladas and, you know, with the topos, chile con queso, we began to start marinating our own meats and grilling them at home. And so the tradition there for me comes from cooking with my tias and my tios, with my grandma, and just, you know, making these feasts of these foods that, you know, were not so, you know, for us, I guess, common at the time. But bringing that nostalgia, bringing that feeling of cooking with my family as a kid, and coming into the institution that is Ninfa's, and looking at the truckloads of fajitas that come in, I was like, okay, here we go. You know, I had to get a deep dive into, you know, looking at this at the outside skirt, learning more about it. Luckily, you know, Chef David's not here. I think he's our director or culinary director. And he just brings a lot of knowledge to the team when it comes to live fire cooking. And so I've had the pleasure of working with him and learning a lot. So it's just been, you know, little by little, un poquito aquí, un poquito allá, and vamos.
That's fantastic. Round of applause for Chef Patty. And the reason I mentioned that is because it can be tough when you're not familiar with that. But she's obviously done something well. I mean, Arnie was there recently, and this whole event kind of came about because he was like, hey, I got to go to the Divas, and he loved it. So there's a continued tradition of excellency that's still continuing now. Arnie, we're going to do two more questions, and we're going to go ahead and wrap up the panel. But Arnie, what do you see as maybe, give folks a little bit of taste of the differences that you've noticed when it comes to preparation from like the Valley to maybe Central Texas to here in Houston. Just so they know, like, hey, you know what? If I hit this here in Houston, maybe it's a little different in the Valley, or maybe in different. And we're not gonna talk about Austin, but Central Texas and up North Texas as well.
Yeah, I think the main difference is what I mentioned briefly was nowadays marketplace taking slice it up into 50 cultures. But the original fajita, and I get in debates with people on this, but usually I try not to do it because you just can't understand. But the original fajita was the skirt steak, right? In the outside, but mainly the outside. And so that is the quote unquote fajita. When you go to a market in the valley to buy fajita, it says fajita on the counter. And the first time I saw at a store where it said 4 fajitas, when you was like, what do you mean 4 fajitas? What does that mean? We're buying fajitas, and they were actually packaging the sirloin flat, which we call sirloin fajitas in the valley. And I was like, that's interesting. You know, and it kind of like didn't snap at the time. But we have a running joke at our house because now we have chicken fajitas, we shrimp fajitas. So our joke is one of these days we're gonna make a YouTube video about ice cream fajitas. We're gonna take a big block of ice cream. We're gonna cut it in the strip and say, hey guys, ice cream fajitas. I'll be there.
I want to be there too.
Yeah, so but the difference is that mainly in the valley, you have a more authentic and true skirt steak as a quote unquote like that. When you move further north, you get a lot of flat meat, which happens to be one of our favorites as well. You know, we look at a lot because it's easy to chew, like the ARNIETEX skirt steak that I use here. You know, and so it's very common, but you know, you get further north, it's not a real skirt steak, which is kind of neat out there. It could be what do you hanger steak. Well, hanger is out of China in the valley, and but what's the other skirt? The other one, flank. Yes, thank you. Flank steak is very common for fajitas, right? And it's not good meat. Don't get me wrong, but the fact of the matter is that the history is the skirt steak. And when I had my fajita plate at the other meat house over here, and I mean, when I took a bite, I looked at Terry and I was like, this is the real deal. I go, this is an outside skirt. I knew right away, right? Because that's what I do. That's what I do. I cook. And so that's really probably the main difference is that they're a little more authentic down south and the other Mexico as well. They call it arrachera. We call it fajita bread. It's the same stuff. And that's probably the main difference. The further north you get. And at some point, you know, people started, and I get this comment a lot. Oh no, fajitas is just strip with bell peppers and onions. And that's not really the true history of the fajita. And I'm very familiar with that article from Texas Market. That was one of my what do you call it? One thing that I stand on because somebody else did the research. It wasn't me. But I've got pages and pages and pages of research on political fajitas on my Google Drive. So I'm a little bit of that.
Yeah. Oh, we have few of all. The good thing is we got somebody from Texas Monthly that can talk to them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mira nomás.
So they're not aware, but there's a quarter of these are not real fajitas. They're gonna pick the ones that are not known.
One of the things I'm really proud of, and I'll be quiet after that, but one thing I'm really, really proud of, I won a lot of fajita competitions in South Texas. And when we started our online school and our classes, we taught other people how to do it too. And so a lot of the people that I taught how to cook really great fajitas went on to win as much as I did. And in fact, a couple times you beat me, so I'm like, I think I told you too much. But anyway, I'm super proud of that. You know, the fajita is an iconic, and Neighbors is iconic for sure. This is the world too.
Can I add something?
Absolutely. I'm not gonna get some fajitas.
All right. So
They said it's on Tuesday, go ahead.
So Arnie mentioned that fajita and arrachera are they are interchangeable. Traditionally, old school arrachera was asset skirt. Don't let anyone tell you that they don't have fajita in Mexico.
Yeah.
Because they just want to call it something else. That's not Texas.
That's true, I agree. And that's okay. We all have our pride, right? I mean, everywhere we go, everybody's gonna have their pride in their culture and their recipes and what they call the dishes. And I'm okay with that. I always say, that's my thing, you'll hear in my book, ain't no right way, ain't no wrong way. Do what you love, do it the way you love, and that's what I do.
Yeah. I think one of the things that people don't understand is, like you said, there's no right way or wrong way. Chef Patty, I know that you have to be very exacting when it comes to the cooking, you know, and so forth, making sure that every plate is right. And Arnie, I think you learned that as well doing the cookbook, right? Because we were talking about that, and a lot of times when it comes to kind of the cultural knowledge and institutional knowledge that we share through generations, a lot of times, especially in Latino families, it's just al tanteo. You know, like, you know, do this, do that, and you know, even when my mom teaches me how to cook, she doesn't really teach me like the exact measurements. I always get it wrong everywhere. So no matter how close it is, you know. Like, Chef Patty, can you talk about that and how important it is to kind of continue those traditions when it comes to that knowledge, that cultural exchange that you have, when it comes to either with your staff or with the team, or with just passing that knowledge through the food that you create for the customers?
Oh, absolutely. So consistency is one of the biggest, keys to that. So training is very important. Knowledge, passing on the knowledge, anything that we've learned, techniques that we, come up with. We make sure that everyone is in training, that everyone is learning, watching, all hands on deck, because that is what's going to be translated over to our guests. And so we just want to always make sure that we always practice.
I'd like to add, Patty, to share with us this morning, like, I'm thinking about every plate, that mama.
When she would walk into the kitchen, she would ask the cooks, or she would tell the cooks, todos los platos tienen que ser, and they all called back, una obra de arte, which means it's a labor of love and art. So you're creating art for the guests. So every time they come dine, you're doing it with so much pride, so much, passion that it does look like a work of art. And so that's what we continue to teach.
I love that. You shared that with us. I love that because that talks about passion for what you're doing, what you love. And that's really what you got to do. Just bring the passion, the love, and then of course the hard work and the thing. Everything that's easy, but it's fun.
So we'll go ahead and end off the panel with one last question, but feel free to grab a slice and bite them. Enjoy it. Pass down. I'm really sorry, but yeah, I really hope so. I guess I'm being honest. But the question that I wanted to ask, just to kind of finish off the panel, is sizzle or no sizzle, Arnie? Do you want the fajitas to be presented this way, where does it come on sizzling, or would you prefer the fajitas to be presented in another way?
Again, that's part of the art, I mean, the sizzle is everything. And I think I've had, this great start now. A lot of times, you're sitting at the restaurant and you order a salad or something, right? And you hear it coming first, and then you see it and you smell it, and you're like, I should have ordered that. It's part of the whole mystique and the art and the, they say you eat the art first, right? But when you hear it and you see it and you smell the aroma, it's like, man, that's magic. That's magic in my book.
Same question for you.
I'll take it anyway, as long as it's great.
Chef Patty, sizzle or no sizzle?
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on this one. The way our customers are gonna envision the fajitas coming to them, the way the customers are going to enjoy the fajitas, the way they're going to feel nostalgic about the fajitas. I think that's the way that we're going to always serve our fajitas.
Fantastic. And I think that's a testament to really the leadership team at NIFAS for really entrusting you with the position that you have, and to make sure that, hey, we continue the tradition at NIFAS. It also kind of talks testament to everybody here on the panel Jose making sure that he accurately describes the cultura, the history behind it, and really emphasizing how important it is to transmit that information and knowledge generationally. And then, of course, with Arnie, I mean, it really is a testament to the people that love you, Arnie, for you becoming a New York Times bestseller, which is something that just really incredible. I know we were at Zavala's Barbecue in Dallas when the announcement came. Dan handed me the phone and said, check this out, you know, and I'm reading it. I was like, oh, wow, that's amazing. He goes, yeah, read it. And I said, oh, and I read it, and Arnie didn't even know. And so I share that story because at the end of the day, Arnie, Jose, and Chef Patty, they come from humble beginnings where they felt like, hey, I just want to transmit the culture. I want to make sure that it's carried out the correct way. But now they're reaching heights that even they didn't see that they reach. And I really appreciate them being part of the panel, making sure that they expand that knowledge to others, and that it gets, more importantly, gets transmitted correctly. And so I just want to end that on that note and give them a round of applause as well as I'm going to let you pass the mic back up to Tony Diaz. Tony Diaz is the director and founder of Nuestra Palabra. We have plenty of books here. He'll tell you a little bit more about that. But we really appreciate everybody being over here. And I know y'all can't wait to get the book signed. Tony will give you a little bit more information regarding
I think they do a great job. Yeah, fantastic. Round of applause. You just experienced an awesome Mexican-American studies class. It just looked like a bunch of fun. It just looked like a bunch of friends hanging out. That's what this experience should be like. And we want you to continue this experience. So in a little bit, we're going to clear this up. I'm going to have a little bit of that too, maybe. But I don't know about that. I'm too slow. But what we're going to do is we'll clear things up a little bit. We're going to form the line through the doors. And you'll be able to come over here, purchase a copy or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 copies of ARNIETEX's book. And then we'll have you form the line over here. You can get it signed. He can sign it for you, personalize it for you, take a picture of it as well. And what's going to happen is you should post that online. And when your cousin gets envidioso, or somebody gets jealous, you say, hey, listen, I'm getting a copy for you. Or you can say, you can go to nuestrapalabra.org. Thank you, Arnie and team and familia, for making Nuestra Palabra the exclusive site for signed copies of Arnie's book. And I want to close with this. This is the wonderful expression of our culture on a daily basis that goes on under everybody's nose. They love it. They take it for granted. It's so wonderful to pause, and y'all become the ambassadors to explain this, to say you love the food, respect the culture. And what a great way to do it, and such a wonderful place. Thank you, Nymphas. Round of applause for Nymphas.
Just real quick, I'm gonna let everybody know, just let everybody know that if y'all want to go ahead and get started with the book signing.
one last thing, Coach. And here we have hold it up. Isn't it beautiful?
I have to read the last sentence because that's what makes it the day. So, therefore, I, Joaquin Martinez, on behalf of John Whitmire, the mayor of the city of Houston, hereby proclaim August the 18th, 2025 as ARNIETEX Day in the city of Houston. Congratulations.
Yeah!
You might have to move to you.
That's right.
You got it from here now.
Yeah.